News with Gina.
The News with Gina Grad.
Well, Megyn Kelly, she's joined in on the roasting of our fearless governor, Gavin Newsom, here in California on Sunday for his very restrictive Thanksgiving guidelines, which we got into already, includes strongly discouraging singing at festivities, keep your woodwind instruments at home. We got all of this, I believe, yesterday. In a tweet posted Sunday, the former Fox News and NBC News host listed some of the rules and called them Thanksgiving insanity. Comedian, and this is all from Daily Mail, by the way, comedian and Saturday Night Live vet Rob Schneider took to Twitter earlier to insinuate that Newsom is trying to run California like a monarchy. He tweeted, "Dear Emperor Gavin Newsom, during our allotted 3-family limit in Thanksgiving, if my aunt comes over, can I throw her a slice of turkey from the window? We promise not to sing. We will all just whisper, please recall dipshit Gavin Newsom." And again, from the Daily Mail, also reports that radio personality and actor AdamCarolla responded, yes, you made the Daily Mail article saying, tweeted, "How many of you sheep are going along with Newsom's Thanksgiving protocols?" And I buried the lead. You are a radio personality and an actor, first and second.
Yeah. At this point, you're going to have to assume that Gavin Newsom is either handicapped mentally, and there is something wrong with him. I mean, his thinking, I've heard him try to articulate his side of arguments, and there's something that doesn't really track with him. So there's either something going on a neurological level, or there's something nefarious going on. But either way, you get to do what you want for Thanksgiving. He's either stupid or liar. Like, I don't know what he's doing, but understand there's something wrong with Gavin Newsom. I was saying to Mike August today, I said, living in a state where Gavin Newsom's in charge, it's like you're being punished. It's like he's trying to punish us. Like,
he wants to run for president.
That's what Mike says every single time. And I'm like,
retort.
All right, well, why does he have to punish us? Can't he just go run for president? So either way, people, or sheeple, depending on how you look at yourself, it's time for you to start living your life. And I think everyone is pretty aware of what the rules are, or what the do's and the don'ts are. I think we got it. We understand. Some are a little more compliant than others, but we understand what we're trying to avoid. And go out there and live your life accordingly, which, by the way, most people do. You kind of leave people alone. You give them the information for the most part, and you leave them alone. They tend to wear their mask, and they tend to distance, and they tend to do what's sort of the social contract.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw what's been going on with this. It seems post-apocalyptic. You know, we all know that Disneyland shut down for the time being, possibly till next summer, and how that's affecting the people of Anaheim and Orange County. And there is now, I don't have the specifics in front of me, but there is now a food line for former and present Disneyland employees, because they are so broke and they are so out of work that there is now a food line, I think this weekend, where you can go and get food, a box of food, if you're a Disney employee. It seems post-apocalyptic.
Well, they're running Disney in Florida, and it's working fine, and they haven't had any big flare-ups. And who better than Disney? You know, who better at herding people around than Disney? Who does a better job at moving people around? That their job is moving people around, and lines and all that kind of stuff, and how to deal with that. So there's a bunch of guidelines. They follow it at Disney in Orlando, and 2 months later, no flare-ups, no news, no nothing. So good. The good news is they volunteered to be the canary in the coal mine. We're California. We were going to play it safe. Let those Floridians shake hands with the devil. So they did. When did they open the Disney in Florida? Disney World. So it's been a long enough time in terms of the gestation period and all that kind of stuff. No bad news. that I'm aware of out of Disney Florida. So good news.
Well, and also, who among us who's been to Disneyland wouldn't be the first to sign up and say yes to 25% capacity? I mean, Disneyland is the worst
sounds
slog.
like a dream.
Oh, that sounds like the best. And if I have to wait 3 months and, or book a year in advance, I know my day is coming where there's going to be a quarter of the people in the park. Where do I sign?
Well, also is I'm very brass tacks with all this shit, which is you don't have to go to Disneyland. If you're elderly or asthmatic or both and you think there's some danger, don't go. Just don't go. If you're young and you have no pre-existing conditions, then maybe you should go. That's it. So they didn't have any big spike. They reopened in July. I don't know July what, but...
we know by now.
I think 15th and 11th.
The middle of July, so it's been 4 months or whatever it's been. All right, good. They volunteered to be the canary in the coal mine, Gavin Newsom. They went and opened. They had protocols. They followed the protocol strictly, and it seemed to work. Good. Now we know it's safe for us to open, except for we won't, because we're California, and we have to send some sort of message. But I don't know what I'm not sure the message he's sending. He's sending... He hates employees. He hates a tax base. He hates Disney, who brings billions of tax revenue to this city and state. What is the message? Nobody knows what the message is. I talk to the smartest and listen to some of the smartest people around, and no one can figure out what Newsom is doing other than Mike August running for president. But I still don't understand why keeping Disneyland. I would be much more apt to vote for DeSantis in Florida because he went, okay, we got this situation, but we have to balance it against this massive employer shutting down in the tax dollars. So we're going to have to figure this out. Just saying shut it down, that we don't need a governor. I mean, that takes no skill politically. That's what you're looking for in leadership is a balance. The leadership, it's like you're a general. You can't go, don't storm Normandy Beach. You have to go, we are storming Normandy Beach. Well, we have to figure out a way to do it strategically. We can't just go, don't get off the Higgins ship. That doesn't, you're not a good general by just going, don't open Disneyland. You're a good general by implementing procedures so that we can safely open Disneyland. That's
figure a way how.
Yes, that's what you want in a leader. No, we're not doing it. Yes.
Yeah, and people are finally getting to the point. I'm seeing articles now that we've never seen before saying, what price will we pay for, the pandemic, which we've been talking about on this show, but it hasn't been a mainstream question that and I'm starting to see that. And you think, well, Gavin Newsom, if you care about the people you represent, then, and I'll just come back to it, they're standing in a food line. I mean, they don't have enough money to buy food, so they're each getting a box of food. You think that makes you look good? That's talk about an optics issue.
I don't know. Maybe he's just a full-blown sociopath. He doesn't seem to have nerve endings. He laughs when he shouldn't be laughing. He says things that don't track or make sense. His rebuttals are more actually hurt his case more than help his case. There's something.
Where are you going to go? I mean, Utah's nice.
I think it's genuinely hard to be a successful politician and not be a sociopath. I think that's a rare exception.
Yeah, I guess, but there's something particularly wrong with him. I don't know. I'm not that cynical. I don't think you have to be a sociopath. I think there's a lot of decent people out there, but he is amongst the worst. And yeah, the greatest thing about where the hell else you're going to go, the thing that made him a sociotard with that one is the person who was interviewing him said, well, what's that mean? I mean, people could go anywhere. And he went, I know. That's just something Jerry Brown says. I don't know if I agree with it. Like, okay. All right. Well, you're just quoting people that you disagree with now.
Well, listen, 7 years ago.
Yeah. Or
you
whatever.
Are the traffic.
Yes. Yeah. I regret that I only have one life to give for my country. Or what? Or not. Doesn't matter to me.
I had a dream.
Yeah. I mean, he's a fucking idiot. And I have no idea. everyone should just defy him. We should just reopen. Like Disney should just fucking reopen and go sue us. What are you going to do?
And there would be storming the gates. It's not like no one would show up.
Oh my God! Yes, it's the same with eating indoors in a restaurant. But again, only people that felt safe enough to go into the restaurant or into the amusement park would go. If you do not feel it's safe, or you think it's a bad idea, or you're elderly or impaired, then you shall stay home. It seems logical. By the way, same with fucking school. My kids have been homeschooling and laying on their bed for 6 months. There's no danger in the schools. Jesus Christ, fucking teachers unions, fucking heroes you guys are. Jesus fucking Christ. It's insane that our schools aren't open. And by the way, it's horrible for kids to be home. And my kids are lucky. There's plenty of kids that are really suffering who need to get and go to school. But no, they shall suffer more. Okay. All right, Gavin Newsom. Jesus, he's such a fucking retard.
And
anyway.
we quote unquote think this is normal because it's what we know here. But if you have friends all over the country or enough people on Instagram, like, oh, hashtag just another day at drop off, they're in school. Plenty of people are living their lives, but we don't see it here.
What is so insanely unique about California that we can't open our schools? When I see the CNN map every morning and we're beige in a sea of a lot of red and orange, we've been flat, at least according to CNN and their color-coded state thing. What is so uniquely dangerous about opening schools in California that somehow doesn't apply to other states?
I was thinking the exact same thing with the beige and the it seemed like 48 of 47 of the states are red or orange, and we're beige, which is kind of hard to believe. But counterpoint, tell me what you think of this. Is that not because of the restrictions we've been under for the last few months?
I don't know.
What other explanation could there be?
Well, see, this is an interesting thing because this thing seems to be just cycling through countries and states in many different forms. And if you really start drilling down on the data, there isn't a straight line between lock it down and affected. There are places that were less affected that had more freedoms. There are places that were locked down that had a lot of problems. There's flare-ups in places that were locked down but then reopened. There's much less rhyme and reason when you look at countries, especially around the world, and states to this thing. It doesn't seem to follow a straight standard. Well, the places that wore the mask and locked down, big picture. So I don't know, and every place seems to be different. I don't know what is different about California. It seems to all kind of be just. We're looking at the map now. It seems a lot of it just seems to be luck and happenstance, and we're trying to make sense of it, but a lot of the data suggests kind of flies in the face. And in Europe as well, like there are places that were religious with the lockdown and religious with the masking. I think Italy was one of them, and they're going through a bunch of flare-ups and stuff now. So I don't know that anyone really has their mind wrapped around it. Here's my take. We have therapeutics. We know how to treat people. This is not a killer. For kids, it's really not a killer. It's like 99.9% whatever. As a matter of fact, I think recently the data has come out that it's more the flu is now more dangerous for kids than COVID-19. This is not a problem for kids. Fine, if you have an elderly home ec teacher, let Edna stay home. But we should reopen the schools, and we're starting to realize there's a big downside, a social downside, a financial downside, a depression downside, a substance abuse downside, a spousal abuse downside. And we're just going to what I'm saying is this thing of like we're going to lock it down and we're going to eradicate it. It's not proving to work around the world. I think we have therapeutics. They're much better than they were, and how, of course, they would have to be. We didn't know what the fuck was going on in March. Now you have a much greater likelihood of, if you get it if you are hospitalized, of making it through that experience. And we're just going to have to responsibly open up the schools, open up Disneyland, and rely on possible herd immunity, but also rely on the therapeutics.
Well, just to sort of put a bow on this topic, so I don't have to get too deep into the next two stories. There are, to your point, one curfew fairly close to us and one starting a little farther away. Texas, they're going to have El Paso start having a curfew from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m.
Fucking libs.
That starts Sunday. Violators could be fined $500. They are having a surge, and they're afraid that they're going to be short a few hospital beds. Meanwhile, Spain is a real hot spot right now in Europe. Spanish government declared a national state of emergency. They're having a curfew from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. That starts Sunday. That's likely to be in place for 6 months. And of course, this doesn't include, first responders or certain jobs or going out to, buy medicine or take care of a family member. But in general, they're also afraid of the hospitals being totally overwhelmed again.
Yeah. I'm not worried about it. I've been hearing about hospitals being overwhelmed for a long fucking time, and I haven't seen it here.
Well, it did happen in Italy, right? So I think Spain is looking more to them than to us.
How many hospital overwhelmed warnings have we had in the last 6 months versus...
We had 2 battleships sent here.
Right.
2 hospital ships.
Right, 2 hospital ships. I've also now known a few people who got it, sort of civilians and stuff, and it just some fared better than others, but they're all fine. I mean, it just cycled, and now that I wouldn't have wanted to get this thing in March, but I think we know a lot more now. All right, Gina, let's do one more. All
right. Well, people have been weighing in for a while now on cancel culture and the problems with it, but it's refreshing to have, I guess, comedians, people like Sarah Silverman, now having the same conversation. She has a new podcast, and she talked about it, a recent podcast of hers, that victims of cancel culture deserve a, quote, path to redemption, and acknowledge all the problems with this progressive idea of canceling somebody's livelihood. She talked specifically about this longtime friend of hers that was kind of a neo-Nazi, and because he couldn't find love anywhere else, and warning the same thing could happen to people who are abandoned by the left. Here's a clip.
But without a path to redemption, when you take someone, you found a tweet they wrote 7 years ago or a thing that they said, and you expose it and you say, this person should be no more, banish them forever. They're going to find some place where they are accepted. And it's not going to be with progressives, which ironically means to be changed, progress. If we don't give these people a path to redemption, then they're going to go where they are accepted, which is the motherfucking dark side.
I don't know if I'm totally down with that theory, but I like the acceptance or the redemption part of it.
Well, I've said that a million times, that it's like, say for, whoever you want to be an ally with, like, let me be why are you banishing me out? I'm your ally. I am supporting you, and I used the wrong word, and now you don't want me in your group. So if I go talk to the people who hate you, would that make you happier? Or should you accept that there's a wider, more flexible swath of allies and people who support your cause?
This is why people have to get into cars. Because
get into the hobby of cars.
Once you like cars, it's just like that's your group. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You hang around with car guys, you go to Cars and Coffee, you go do a vintage race, you spend your online time looking on Bring a Trailer. You know what I mean? Like, I look at people's tweets, but I don't spend any time on any political website or group websites. I do want to push back against this group thing. This is kind of a new thing. Like, everyone's got to join a group, and if you're thrown out of the progressive group, then you get into the neo-Nazi group, and if you're thrown out of the Nazi group, then you get into the Mexican lowrider group. Like, we're not in fucking prison. Does anyone feel like they're in a group? I mean, you have things you like. You have a team. You know, you went to a college. You root for that team. But isn't it weird to just, and it's a little condescending to think like everyone's getting into a group or needs to be? There's a lot of it out there, but how necessary is it? And why does everyone feel like, you know, like as if Antifa or the Proud Boys like represented any significant, or the neo-Nazis or the white Hitler youth or white Aryan nation?
You could just say Hitler youth.
Yeah, there he is. Yeah, as if they represent
multi-ethnic Hitler youth.
Any numbers. The KKK or, I don't know, the Black Panthers, like they don't represent any real numbers in this country. But we talk about them constantly. I have no idea how many people are in the KKK. It's got to be a very small number from a percentage standpoint in this country. Why are we so obsessed with the group and the group everyone's entering? Why not make your family your group? You know, make your friends your group. Have your hobbies, you know, you like cooking or I like cars or whatever, and you get a little community there. But I like what she's saying about not casting people out of the progressive group by judging them. And I appreciate that, but I don't feel it's like latchkey kids with gangs. You know, I don't feel like they're going to be a Crip or Blood. I just think they'll be pissed at your group and call you a hypocrite.
That would be the more toned down, likely version for sure. I think maybe I don't want to put words in her mouth. I have no idea. All in all, is a 3-minute clip. But you know, when you get that outlier that feels ousted, and then that's the one that, you know, drives into a protest or shoots up a school.
Tim McVeigh was part of a group.
Okay.
Well,
yeah,
true.
they're groups. There are groups. Yes, but I don't feel like. I feel like we talk about them more than they actually affect us. I feel like there's more talk like the Proud Boys or Antifa or something. It's like, what are we really talking about here?
Right.
I mean, we talk and talk and talk about how many can actually be in that group. And don't join a group. Yeah, of course there's groups and everyone's look, you know, the Manson family was a group. It was a group of, you know, 18 horrible people. It was a group, but that's fine. That's going to exist. Cults exist. Groups exist. Gangs exist. I just don't think... I think we're spending way too much time breaking down the game film. I think you get a hobby, you focus on your family, you get a life, you have a community, you have a team, and you get the fuck on with life. All right, let's bring it home, Gina Grad.
You got it. I'm Gina Grad, and that's the news.
Gina Grad. That was the news with Gina Grad.